Hey everybody, welcome to another episode of Reviewing Comics with me, your host, Alexander Turbin. Today we're going to be going over Omaha, the Cat Dancer, number 14 by Kitchen Sink Press. But before we get into that, I have a few announcements. The poll for the two artists up this week is Will Sportatio and David Mazzucchelli, and that's still going on. So if you like either one of those, then you should check out that poll and let your voice be heard and let everybody know who you enjoy more. So far, Mazzucchelli is winning. So if you're a Portatio fan, I would jump on in there and do some voting. Also, this video and all my other videos are supported by my comic books that I make. Random Access is the newest one is number 30, came out last month, and it has the first appearance of Morgrim, the Savage Cyclops, and this is a fully watercolored 12-page comic book. It's 10 pages of the watercolor, and then has a backup by Paul Courtjohn and another backup by myself. And so you can get these at patreon.com/Alexander Turbin, or you can go to my website, alexanderturbin.com, and check them out there. Or you can just message me at alexturbin0441@yahoo.com or alexturbin0441 So now that I'm done shamelessly plugging my own stuff, let's look at Omaha the Cat Dancer. What you guys are always already here to see. Always here to see? I don't know. But I don't think I bought any Omahas when I first started reading comic books. Yeah, it is created by Reed Waller and Kate Worley. Well, not created. It was created by Reed Waller back in 1970 something, 76 or something like that. It's got a long history. It really has a long history. And then he, for some reason, I don't know if they got together and got married or whatever. But then she started writing it, and her writing is really good. So I'm definitely going to pause and talk about that at a certain point. But he created Omaha, and it went through lots of different iterations. It was like a backup in a fanzine or part of a fanzine, and then it had like backup stories in all of these different magazines and comic books and anthologies and stuff like that. So it had a really rich history before it even came out with number one. And then it was published until, I think it was up until 20 or something like that. And then the writer got into this really bad car accident. So she was like having these awful pains and she couldn't really write and stuff. So she was trying her best, and they eventually, I think she got a little bit better from that. But then they both got seriously ill. I think they were like 4 or 5 issues from being completed by the series, and they both got cancer, and one of them died from it, and the other one, I don't know if she's still alive or if she died too of cancer. But I think she did die. But so it remained unfinished, and then somebody came along and finished it, I guess, one of their friends or something like that. But for me, it's a true story of having this thing that you love and you want to complete this comic book, and then something happening in life, because we all have these things in our life that we want to continue, finish, whether it's I don't know, painting or drawing or comics or music or whatever. And then you're like, oh, I'll have plenty of time. You might not. You never know. You might not have that amount of time that you want. So if you're sitting there and you're listening to this and you're playing a video game and you're a comic book artist, stop playing that video game, get into your drawing table, finish your comic book, work on your art. I mean, I know I love video games too. I'm not, criticizing, but you only have a limited amount of time on this earth, and it might even be less than you think. So that's my rant, and go work on your comics. So Omaha, like I said, I didn't get it, and I know I'm saying that I'm trying to get into the comic book quicker and spend a little bit less time on these videos. But I really can't with this because it has all of that backstory. And me personally, like, I always saw this in catalogs and stuff, and I was always like, I'm not a huge anthropomorphic guy. Like, I like the turtles. I don't love the turtles. I like the turtles. I love Usagi Yojimbo. I think it's fantastic. And there's a few other things that I'm really into. But I wouldn't say that I'm a big fan of anthropomorphized stuff. If it's good, it's good. You know, if it's not something that I'm gonna if I don't think it's that great, then I'm not going to be into it. But I was always also, it has the adults only tag on it. And so I would think I would go into my comic book store and kind of look at it and be like, maybe I should ask to look at that. But I was like maybe 14 or 15 or something like that. And I knew that it just wasn't going to happen. Even though I, at a very young tender age of like maybe 11 or 12 or something like that, I started reading heavy metal because my stepdad, I think he had a bunch of them or something. I got them from somewhere anyway, and I read a bunch of them, and I loved them, and I loved the movie too. And that was kind of hush hush. I didn't really tell my parents about it or anything. I just kind of got them, and so I was really into that, and the nudity and stuff like that. I was really into, but I was also very like timid as a kid, and so if anything was like out of place or whatever, I was like just not having it. And so I just never got into Omaha, and I really kind of wish I had because I just read it and I really enjoyed it. It's a nice cover. I never go into the covers. I'm going to start going into that. It might extend the videos a few minutes, but I've got to start getting into the covers because covers are such a huge part of comic books. And I just have to talk about them a little bit. This looks like it's kind of a boring. Looks kind of boring. I think all of the logos and stuff, they're all like have this big Omaha thing above the top, which is really kind of cool because then you have all of the image area and you don't have logos or anything all over the artwork. So it's really nice to have this. It's almost a virgin copy, which means that it has no logos or anything on it, but it has it on top, but it's all out of the way, so it's not interfering with the artwork. And maybe I might think about doing something like that with random access because but then it also shortens the amount of imaged area that you have to work with. So there's something to think about. This is a very quiet cover. I think there's certain super exciting covers where it's really three-dimensional and there's lots of foreshortening, lots of action, and those are fantastic. And those are the ones that really gain your attention, and they're the ones that really are often the ones that you pick up first because they're just so exciting. A lot of Carnage and Venom covers are like that. I think a lot of Spider-Man covers because he has the wonky way that his he flies through the air and stuff like that. So there's a lot of different types of covers, but I think there's also the quiet covers where it just maybe explains part of what's going on inside the issue, or it is it's the epitome of what the issue is about. This is just a quiet moment of Omaha herself sewing her because she's a cat dancer. She's like a stripper, and she's just sewing her thing in her bedroom or whatever. It's very quiet. I really enjoy it. It's not one of my favorites, obviously, but it's still, I really enjoy it, and I especially enjoy it for what it is. I love the composition. It's got a really nice composition. The colors are nice and muted. There's nothing too extreme. There's no like if they'd wanted to make this darker in the foreground and like a lot lighter in the background, or have some kind of lighting techniques here. You can see a little bit of stippling and stuff like that to give it some lighting techniques, but it could have been darker here, giving it a nice shadowy shading effect that really kind of would have made things pop. But it's not. That's not what you're looking for. You're not looking for something to pop in a quiet cover like this. So anyway, let's dive into this. It's already 10 minutes into the video, and I haven't even opened the book yet. I am sorry, but that's what happens sometimes. So he does. This Reed Waller, he's the artist actually, and this Kate Worley, she's the writer. He was originally writing it. He was doing the art and the writing for the first like 15 issues, 10 issues, or something like that. And then I think it got either it got too stressful for him, or they got into a relationship and she was like, hey, let me take on this. Let me do this. I think I would really be good at it, which she is. Her dialogue's really good and her writing's really good. So I think he maybe discovered her in a way. And I don't know if either one of them, actually, they both died. So I don't know if they did anything other than Omaha. If any of you guys are Omaha fans, please let me know on some of this stuff if I've gotten everything wrong. I just Wikipedia'd it and found out as much as I could. I didn't know that it went back quite as far as it did, which is interesting, and the kind of the tragic way in which they died. But if you guys are Omaha fans, let me know, because I did enjoy the book and I could very easily see myself getting a collection or something like that, because it is so well written. They have a great our story last time, this is issue 14. So there's a lot of background and stuff to go through and to discover. And they tried to squeeze it all in. And I did read this. It's a wall of text. Sometimes as comic book readers, we're lazy readers. We can be lazy readers, not always. But this is really worth it if you haven't read any other Omaha stuff. I mean, it's got 14 issues and probably other stuff that goes on before that. So they're trying to squeeze all of that stuff and give you all of this information, which is really difficult because there is so much of it. They try to squeeze it all into this little few paragraphs, and I appreciate that. But they've got all of these characters, all of these timelines, all of these events that happen, and I'm just not going to remember it. But I do kind of remember it as I go through the story, because they do such a great job of explaining what happened previously in the story, as well as this little piece here. So you've read this little piece, and then when they explain it in the book, you're like, oh yeah, that's right, that happened. So they talk about this Bonner character who's like the bad guy who gets shot, and he's some nightclub owner, and all of this stuff. And it kind of is, it's a nice way to do it. It lets you know what happens in the beginning, so you're not completely lost when you're reading it. And then as they kind of reintroduce characters and themes and storylines, arcs and stuff, it's like a memory trigger. And so you're like, okay, I have these little things over the booblies because YouTube doesn't like booblies. So it starts off in one of the characters, and they're sleeping, and then their buzzer goes off, their alarm clock. And then this is it's a soap opera. I think it's a self-described soap opera. There's not much action, and it is, when there is action, it's soap opera action. So it has a lot of those tropes, and it's a lot of dialogue. It's a lot of them talking to each other. So I'll just kind of briefly glaze over some of what's going on, because there's no way that you could get the intricacies of their relationships and all of the events that happen and all of that stuff, unless you've completely read it yourself. And I'm just can't go like I do with a lot of the stories, go, page by page and say exactly what they're saying, because I mean, I'll try for a little bit, and then it's not that it's confusing, not confusing at all. And it's a pleasure to read. It's very enjoyable to read. It's just so much backstory that it could be very confusing if I tried to actually explain what's going on. So there's a couple, and they're waking up, and they have something to do with Omaha. She shot somebody, I think, this Bonner character, and then she took off. I don't know. He died, and she left. Here are some of her friends. It's basically her surrounding people in her life, like her boyfriend and her friends, and just background characters and stuff like that. So you got these two characters. One of them has to go to somewhere, and the female is like, get up, get going, and he wants to have sex before they get up and stuff, like all guys do. This is a pretty typical way of waking up with your significant other, I think. And she's like, no, we don't have time. And then she's like, okay. And then he realizes that he really doesn't have time, and then it shows them having breakfast, and he doesn't have time for breakfast, so he's like, blah 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 blah. There's a lot of blah 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 blah, which really isn't bad. I'm saying that like it could be a bad thing, but it isn't. It's just lots of really intricate dialogue, and it's really great. She's in a wheelchair. He's off to his business. I'm not entirely sure what he's doing. The scene cuts to the woman who they think killed Bonner, I believe. She's got a gun. She's talking to her lawyer. The cops are trying to really muscle into the fact that she did this. She's got a permit for her gun and stuff, and they can't find it, or they say they can't find it, and so they're really just trying to gum up the works. And then it cuts to another scene where another friend of Omaha's, I guess they had made a tape of her dancing, and some agent really liked it, and it's kind of trying to break into that scene of maybe Omaha becoming a famous person, a famous dancer, famous actress, or something like that. But she's dancing, but she knows this musical group, of course, because she dances at a bar, and there's a rock band or some sort of band that plays there, and so the lead singer or something, I'm not entirely sure, one of the people in the band goes to Omaha's boyfriend's house. She took off. He's just kind of bummed because he thinks that she left him, and it's all weird and stuff. But the band member gives him the tape that the agent made, or they made for the agent or something, for him to check out. She also is inviting all of these people to see the last hurrah of their band at this nightclub, because they're going to go on tour, because this new agent, is doing all these things, putting things in the works so they'll become famous. So he wants them to go on tour and stuff, which really makes sense. So she goes and she's talking to the girl in the wheelchair, and they're just kind of talking about Omaha and what happened. And a lot of them, I guess, don't know exactly what happened, but they know Omaha's missing and stuff like that. So then it goes to where Omaha is staying. She's in some other city, I don't know, miles away, I don't know, states away. She's living in this old lady's house, and they're having a discussion. At first, Omaha was working for this creep, I guess, at some sort of packing plant or something. She was like, I don't know, a packager, or I don't know what she was doing. But she didn't like it. He was a creep. He was, messing with her. So she decided to take another job as a stripper, and she's living in this like lady's house, I guess, or she rents a room from the lady, and they're just having this discussion about the dancing. And at first she thinks the old lady isn't going to approve or anything, but then she finds out that the lady does approve, and she doesn't care what people do to survive. And this is it's a feminist magazine, feminist comic book. It's written by a woman, and it's kind of like the bad guys doing bad things to women and them surviving through it. But they're not one-dimensional characters. They're very multi-dimensional. They have lots of different quirks and ways about their character and stuff. They're very realistic. Even though they're anthropomorphized, they're very realistic in their dialogue, and also the way that they move around the page and stuff, which is very interesting. The one in the wheelchair had met this other girl, and they're talking about something. I'm not entirely sure what it was. I think it wasn't even discussed in the beginning. But it's some sort of, they're talking about prostitution, and how one of the one in the wheelchair was a prostitute at some point. And they're just kind of discussing that and the empowerment of women and all of that stuff, which is very interesting to see it from that woman's point of view and perspective, and stuff like that, which is really, really very interesting. Then it goes to one of the characters trying to get a nightclub. I think he turned on Bonner and was going to like turn him into the cops or something. I'm still, like I said, I'm not entirely sure. But they're fast tracking all of the documents and procedures and stuff to get his new nightclub going, because they appreciated him working with them to get Bonner out of there, whatever. So then Omaha's boyfriend, he's at home. He's feeding the ferret because he wouldn't have a cat because he is a cat. And then he gets a message from somebody who he needs to talk to. He has something he really wants to talk to him about. and then it skips to this. Is a lot of this is skipping from scene to scene, and it's really okay though, because you realize that they're different characters and they have their different little things. It doesn't really do the thematic theme with regular soap operas. In regular soap operas, when two people are talking about or discussing a third character, then the next scene is always the next character's scene. Like if these two were talking about these two or one of these, then that would transition there. They don't use that technique. I really kind of think they should, because it really makes the writing flow into each other, and that's really a good way to do it. But Omaha, this is her boyfriend, and like I said, he has somebody to talk to. Omaha is the new gig where she's a dancer. I had to tape a couple of pages because it was just too much for me to tape over all of their booblies. But they're, just discussing them working in the dancing industry, and some of them are late, and they're trying to figure out their time slots and all of that kind of stuff. So it's kind of interesting. I don't know if this Kate Worley was ever a prostitute or a stripper. That would be interesting to find out. But it's an interesting perspective from her perspective instead of just a male dominated perspective. So then her friends later, they're at the nightclub, I guess, that to see the band off, to have like one big last party and hurrah. So they're all just kind of talking about different things and who did what. One of them actually saw or heard Omaha kill Bonner, but somebody else, one of her friends, is being convicted of the crime or prosecuted for the crime of it. So this guy actually knows about it, and they're kind of just discussing what to do about it and where to go. And they're like, hey, let's find her lawyer and I'll tell her what's going on. So they're trying to go through that. It goes to, the character in the very beginning who was rushed out of bed for his job. I don't know if it was a new job or whatever. I guess he's like an assistant to this blind person. I don't know what it is. And they just have like this little, page of stuff that's going on. And then it's more dialogue. The guy that's starting the club calls up the girl in the wheelchair, and he offers her the management position of the new club. So they're like, let's go to the let's go have dinner and then talk about it, and then go to the club and see the band, because they're friends anyway. These are all friends, and they all know each other pretty well. So they're all around the table. They're discussing the Bonner and the old nightclub and Omaha and her stuff that happened and all of that kind of stuff. And they're just kind of going back and forth between stuff. And it's just, like I said, lots of dialogue, lots of banter, lots of innuendos and ins and outs. It's interesting to read, not so interesting to talk about, because it is a super, like I said, it's a super soap opera. Omaha comes home from dancing. The old lady offers her some hot chocolate, and she gets ready for bed. Omaha calls her friend who is in the wheelchair, and just to let her know that she's okay, and that to let her boyfriend know that she's okay, and that she had to just get away from there to figure things out and stuff like that. And I'm not sure when she comes back, or if she comes back and faces the murder charge of Bonner. I don't know. Anybody knows anything about that? Let me know if it's a big thing. And also, if you guys enjoyed this, did you read it when you were younger? Were you like me, and were you kind of didn't want to see it, didn't want to get it because it was adults only, and then maybe when you were older you did get copies? Let me know. It's very good. One of the things I didn't talk about, the art. The art is really nice. I really enjoy it. It keeps it entertaining. There's it could have just been talking heads, people discussing things. But he moves the camera around. He has really fascinating. It helps that it's anthropomorphized. The really good emotions and facial expressions and stuff like that. So that's really powerful, and it makes things a little bit more interesting. It's all towards It all goes towards making things interesting for the reader when it could be uninteresting. There's no spaceship battles, there's no stuff like that. So he's making it trying to make it as interesting as he can without having any kind of real action sequences. The panels are very standard. It's almost a 9-panel grid, 6-panel grid, something like that. 9 panels, I guess. And so there's not like a very really a variety of bigger panels and smaller panels, but you only do that in the because you want to convey the action sequences in a certain way. There's no action sequences here, so it's really just going from panel to panel to panel. It could have used a little bit more variation in the panel size and panel structure and stuff like that, but I wasn't distracted by it, and that might have caused a distraction from reading and made me a little bit confused, which I never was confused on who was talking to who and where, even though I don't know any of the characters. So that is really good. Really clean. All of his stuff is really clean. And there is no real shading or shadows to really say. I mean, it's dark, it's black in the background, and he's got some really pretty good backgrounds, but it's not overly intense. And his characters are, it's like looking at a Disney cartoon or something like that. Anthropomorphized, but it's really cool. It's enjoyable. I enjoyed reading it. He does use a little bit of texture, but not a super amount of texture here and here. But he's got a really nice grasp of his anatomy, and not much anatomy because a lot is made of anatomy. It's more the human figure, the human form, not so much the anatomy, because that's like the musculature and all that stuff, and that's overblown. But whether it looks maybe not realistic, but if it looks good and clean and believable, realistic, clean, and believable, I would say, and fun. So he's got all of that stuff going on. It's really enjoyable, and I enjoyed looking at the art as well as reading it, which this won a couple of Eisners. So you know that it's had some good runs going through it, and a lot of people have enjoyed it. Let me know if you guys were one of the people that really enjoyed this or not, and if you think winning an Eisner is a big deal or not. So Omaha the Cat Dancer, number 14. I'm going to give this I would buy more, definitely would buy more if they're in the dollar bin. I'm picking them up. So there's the base 7. I really like the writing. There's a base 8. I really like the art. There's a base 9. It's too much. It's a soap opera. It's not actiony enough for me. Maybe if I had read it from number 1 and I didn't care about the action, or I saw some of the action scenes that were actually in there, then I might have given this higher. I'm going to give this I hate to give it a 9 because that's really high. I'm going to give it an 8.5. I would give it a 9, but I'm just not invested enough in the characters or anything. And as much as I did like the writing and I did love the art, it's the whole package that I would be looking for. It's not just the artist or just the writing. So I'm going to give it an 8.5. I could give it a 9 if I start from number 1 and I've read all of them and some crazy stuff happened. It's like watching Game of Thrones. Not every episode is a 9 or a 10, but then you have like 3 8s in a row, and then it jumps to a 10, and then it goes to a 7, and then an 8, and a 9, and then a 10. So that's probably what happened with this book, and I would love to get more copies to see those better issues. So thanks for watching, and I'm giving it an 8.5. Omaha, the Cat Dancer from Kitchen Sink Comics, and Kate Worley and Reed Waller. It's really good. I would definitely recommend giving it a try anyway, even if you're not into the funny animal things that were going on. So thanks for watching. If you're a new subscriber, this is exactly the kind of stuff that I go over. Black and white indies from the 70s, 80s, 90s. But I also go look at Marvel stuff, Marvel and DC. Really anything that's intriguing or different or unusual. You're not going to catch me looking at now, you probably will. Whatever it is, comic books, I don't care. I love it all, and I will review probably every single comic book if I live long enough. But anyway, if you're new, please hit the subscribe button and the notification bell. And everybody, give me a thumbs up. I would really 100% appreciate that. And more than that, as everybody knows, whenever they see my videos, I love comments from you guys. I love talking about comics with everybody, and I really love to have that back and forth. Whether you like it or whether you don't like it, whether you think this is obscene, whether you think it's really cool, whether you don't think anthropomorphic creatures should be sexualized, let me know. I really appreciate hearing from you guys, and I can't wait to hear your feedback for this, because it's kind of a well-known book, and it's a well-known book that I think a lot of people don't know about. So thanks for watching. It's a new week. We've got some great stuff coming up. Go vote on Mazzucchelli or Wild Spertatio, and let your thoughts be known on that. And we'll have a video with Joe on Wednesday. We'll have a couple more artists to look at and stuff like that. And some more stuff on Friday, and maybe even some other special surprises going on. So thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time. And as always, keep on creating.